maybe you should share your experience with us on your encounter with operatives of the defunct SARS and what led to that encounter. Exactly.
What actually happened, that was August 1st, 2013. Incidentally, the then state government, Anambra state government, they contracted, or they considered Osokwodo Motor Park to the Onitsha natives. Meanwhile, Mokwe Park belongs to me. That's next to that Osokwodo. Incidentally, some of those transporters that were loading there were complaining that the money was too much. They moved to my own property. Then the Onitsha youths, led by Patrick Ayamba, who is now Onitsha North local government chairman, they attacked the place. Then I
attacked your own park.
They attacked my own park. Then I defended my park in equal proportion. I have to be honest with you. What I mean by equal proportion is muscle for muscle. You understand? And after that, it was considered an affront. An affront in the sense that I challenged the power that be. From there, 2 weeks after that, a lodger who happens to be later discovered to be an Onitsha native lodged in my hotel and planted two rotten skulls with 2 rusted guns all in one bag in room 107. He lodged on that night, the day before August 1st. Before 7:30, SARS has surrendered my building. SARS up to 100 crowd all over the place. I was at the hotel. My manager, who is now PhD philosophy, was running the hotel and sustaining his education program at the time. So they surrendered the hotel. I was there because I have a hotel in Lagos. So I came, as a matter of fact, a week before that instead. I came back to the East. So before you know it, they come up. When they came up, they said they want to search the hotel. I said, no problem, because I didn't know what was happening. But before we now started the search, there was one SARS officer who was particular on room 102. Room 102 is where those exhibits were planted. So we started, it's a 3-story building. We started from the top down till we got to the room 102. When we got to room 102, my manager said the lodger is not around and that we have a hotel manifest. Now, under the rule, as a hotelier, you must submit your manifest before 6:30 to ACIB, the police department, so that if there's anybody they are looking for, they can now know he's lodged in a particular hotel. So we have done that, and we have a copy. So now my manager brought a copy of the manifest to show them, but they were not interested in the manifest. They broke down the door. When they broke down the door, the first thing we saw were waterproof, that polyethylene bags, black one with a suitcase on top of the bed, meaning that the person that stayed there didn't sleep there. Everything else was on the bed. So the police went to they went to the wardrobe and pulled out a sacco bag. Inside that sacco bag is 2 rotten skulls with 2 rusted AK-47 guns. I was handcuffed. My manager the same. My staffs, every single one in the hotel was taken to Okozo SARS. Before then, the then state governor, Peter Obi, we were arrested between, because time, I have a plus or minus 15 or 20 minutes. Arrested between 7:30, Peter Obi arrived at the hotel around that kind, 8:39 or something, and ordered the immediate demolition of the hotel. Without investigation, without asking me what happened, without anything. So they commenced demolition the same day. Now, there's one funny thing about this incident. The funny thing is that Old Market Road, Onitsha, is like Marine Street, Lagos. That is where Onitsha started. So there's no way a caterpillar that will haul down a 3-story building will get to that place by that time because of traffic. So it must mean that this whole thing was understood to be how it's going to happen. And additionally, payment for the demolition of my hotel was made 2 days before the actual arrest and subsequent demolition of the hotel.
How do you have that information?
I have information because, one, is that he really is a friend of mine in a way, and a very close friend.
He being?
The person that demolished my hotel.
You're talking of former governor?
No, I'm not. Governor is not. The governor gave the order. I'm talking about the person, the person that was giving the contract.
Okay.
He's a friend and a friend of the governor.
Okay.
But by virtue of how my wife was called, he doesn't want to be drawn into, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, but my staff, all those, because I have other properties there. So my staff saw him, you know, I'm aware, but I'd rather not mention his name because my wife begged me not to. He doesn't want to be drawn into the mess. But let me just take it from this way. There's just no way a low-bed tractor will transport a caterpillar in Old Market Road. You start from, you have to be in Onisha. Anybody that is from Onisha knows what I'm saying. You cannot do that. The only time you can get to that place will be around that kind 3 or 4 by virtue of hold up. It's not. It's
3 or 4 hours.
No, not if you. The only way that caterpillar can get to that place where that hotel is located at the extreme end of the Old Market Road. So the only way it would be feasible for that demolition to commence at the time it did was those things has to be priorly set in to cut down on the traffic time. That's what I'm trying to say.
Chief, let's look at even what led, you know, to your arrest and subsequent demolition, you know, of the hotel. You said, you know, skull, you know, and other, you know, items were found in that room.
Lodging room, yes.
That lodging room. Somebody actually checked in
that room. It was reflected in the manifest. That's what the hotel manifest. As a hotelier, you have them. You write. Somebody lodges in a hotel. You write the name of the person.
Speak to us about the security arrangement, you know, of your hotel.
This was in 2013. CCTV camera wasn't prevalent as at that time. And additionally, the hotel is located right inside the market. Right inside the, look at main market to look at the hotel. So it's a hotel that was built 1974, 4 years after the Civil War. So generation, people that lodge there are usually from Niger Republic, Cameroon, they are traders. You know, it's like I know the father knows my father. It's more like a culture now, people that come there. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everybody knows everybody by virtue of the history. How many years from 1974 to that? One of the first 5 hotels, or 4, built after the Civil War in Onitsha. That's my own inheritance. I didn't build it. I was 5 years or 6 years then.
When it was built. All right, I want you to tell us how your experiences, how you got to SARS. Continue
What
that
happened there?
story. What happened there?
Okay, when we now got to SARS, when you go inside or go to SARS, there's what they call torture hall. Torture hall is 2 and a half times the size of this place. You know, the old party house, that's what is converted. Those old party houses built by Babangida at that time. So that's what they converted to that Okosu SARS. At the back of that torture hall is where most of the killings happen. At the back of that torture hall. So I was taken immediately at the back of the building. I was handcuffed against a weightlifting contraption. It's a local for weightlifting. So just they chained me there. Do you understand? Then they brought a plain sheet of paper and said I should sign. I said, I'm very educated, that I can write my own statement. Before I finished saying what I was saying, they removed my clothes. Drew me naked, used my shirt to tie my neck, and then a rope followed it. I think the idea was so that no mark would be left on my neck. So they started pulling it. These are men. I'm quite aged. So they started pulling from both sides. Then I was gone.
You passed out.
I passed out. They now use my thumbprint with my level of education. Inserted on that statement they prepared. They inserted my thumbprint. By my own standard of education, I consider James Nwafo comprehensively illiterate by every standard. Now, he signs his own signature while I thumbprint my own. Does it make sense? Now, that explains in the case, as case went on, there are 2 statements. The one with the thumbprint and the one when the case, because eventually the case backfired. Because as I'm talking to you today, there is no complainant after 7 years. No complainant has come and said, I did this, I did that. Till date, every attempt to manufacture a complainant collapsed.
A complainant against you?
Because after the torture, when I woke up from that torture, I found myself in where they call cell 5. Cell 5 is what they call at SARS condemned cell. That's where people that are going to die at any point in time is kept. I was there for 5-6 days. I did no food. Then bucket of water. They give us bucket of water. From there, you drink water. We're up to 40 or 40 something in a congested, very dirty place. We stayed there. I did not eat for 4 days, plus my neck.
I'm even wondering why they gave you, a plain paper to sign. Did you ask to speak with your lawyer in the course of the altercation?
When you go into SARS, you don't have such prerogative.
You don't have any rights.
This is a place where James Nwafor will look you in the face, even your lawyer, and tell him he has traveled the person. You know what traveling means? Traveling means he has killed the person. And that if you take...
You heard him say these words?
Oh, it's a common... Go to Anambra State EndSARS. That means he's in routine because he was enjoying a latitude. And that's what I will come after. He was enjoying it. There was, for a police officer to open his mouth and tell you, he told my wife that. My wife is a lawyer. Nwafor told my wife that if he wants to kill me, he can kill me and nothing will happen. That's what he told my wife. So it's not something. The only way a police officer will open his mouth and say that is if he's enjoying an official latitude, official cover. There's no way a police officer would, because you know the danger of saying that. But he says that to lawyer, and in fact, if he kills you, he writes you off as an armed robber or masob or kidnapper. And the system will accept that.
So what happened after you got into Cell 5?
When I got into Cell 5, then, on the 5th day, CSP Sondobe, who is the second in command to James Nwafor, opened. But before then, on the second night of my staying at that Cell 5, 17 people were called out and summarily executed.
You saw this?
I'm not wearing a mask. Let me remove my glasses so you can see me clearly. I'm telling you that I witnessed it. I was in that. One of the boys that was killed was a second-year engineering student at Futo, an only son. This only son, instantly, he was calling me uncle because he was next to me. There's a way you sit in that dirty place. He said he's an only son, that the father is dead, and that the uncle, who has money in Lagos, wanted to take the land which their grandfather gave, so he gave up a fight. Petition was written against him as a kidnapper. He was one of the 17 people that was killed. Look, when that gun was I lost my consciousness. I ceased to have conscience in me as a person. I hated that James with passion. Because that boy was at almost the same age as my first son. I hated that man with passion. I died that very day. Every Nemo, Nemo, Nemo. That's all you could hear. I was there, not I was at the back. Right to somebody, your name, okay, John, come out. You better come out. I was there.
So you say people were primarily executed?
Look,
Extrajudicial.
I've said this, I've maintained this. It's not only the atrocity. It's not only, this, as you can see here, is a 25-page addendum of atrocities that happened at SARS while I was there, under affidavit.
Remind us again, what year this happened?
2013, during the time then state government, Anambra state government, issued shoot-aside order against Masop. That was really what gave James Nwafor the latitude to kill at will and rationalizes under that blanket instruction of shoot-aside. All
right. Yes. Tell us how you eventually escaped death in that cell, and how did the CSP James Nwafor eventually discover that there were irregularities in your detention?
Now, what actually happened is, even on that very day I was tortured, the deputy looked at the exhibit. He's from Benue State. He looked at it and stood up, asked some questions about the manifest. He turned around and said to Nwafor, "This looks like Mago Mago." So he didn't give any cooperation in that matter. He said to James, that very day I was being tortured, he looked at it, he said, why would they put all these things in one bag? He used a hunter narrative, a hunter that goes and catches a prey. How would you put your prey with the gun? There's a way he analyzed it. So he looked at the skull. The skull is around 2 years old. What is a skull, a rotten skull? If you are putting the gun with the skull, does it mean you're not going to use the gun again?
too, someone also stayed in that room. Was there no question asked as to who was the occupant of the room at the time?
No, that wasn't what the job. The job was to cut me to size. The investigation was not factored into the equation at all.
And you relate this to the incident that happened at your park?
Oh, that is exactly what happened. That is the genesis of my predicament. That is the summation of my predicament. But I want to take on your question. You asked me, on that 5th day, now, the door, they just opened. If you stay, God, they knocked and then called my name out. I came out. I have not eaten for 4 or 5 days. Only bread, no energy. He asked me, what do I want to eat? I said, anything. He bought me more stuff.
Who bought you more?
The CSP, but that deputy who said this thing is mago from day one.
Okay, that's Sunday Okpe.
Yeah, Sunday Okpe. So he bought me malt and bread, and I took it. He then removed me and put me where they call cell 1. Cell 1 is a little congested still, but a lot better than the other hell. From that time, I was able to see my wife. From seeing my wife...
Sorry, at this time you have stayed how long?
I have not seen no, they are not allowed to see anybody.
No, but you've been in their detention for how long at the time you were moved to cell 1?
I've been around 5-6 days.
Okay.
When they moved me to cell 1, after some days, my wife came with my lawyer, Professor Namo Menweke, my lawyer. Under a lot of pressure from my townspeople, from my wife who mobilized up to 40 lawyers to stand for me, coupled with my surname, because my surname is not, is another name in the town. So it was instrumental, particularly my town people and my friends. So when they now call me out, I started enjoying the latitude. I was no longer, I became free at SARS. I became very free. That's why I'm able to study them and be able to write this. I became very free because there was no complainant. Charging me to court is a problem. If you charge me to court, who is the complainant? Releasing me is a problem. If you release me, how does the state government explain the demolition of the hotel? You see the dilemma? And so now it's a matter of trying to placate. Then one for now, after 2 weeks of still no complainant, till date, one for now called my wife. CSU, I told my wife, let her convince me to let what, use the word, let what died, what beat you in the night to be mosquito. That after all, that I have so many properties. And that this, at least, that I'm alive. My wife now told them, look, the man she's married to, won't understand that. So when my wife came and told me that, I refused. I said, no, I want to understand the basis of this, my predicament. 3 weeks, no complainant. 4 weeks, no complainant.
Still in detention?
Still in that Okosa. I told you the problem is that releasing me is a problem.
Yes,
because,
I get that.
Then charging me to court, who is the complainant? What they now did is that they now decided to look for a complainant. This is very interesting. They called us up, me and my manager, who is now PhD philosophy. They called me and said they are going to now go to a place to dig up a body, somebody that I killed. I wonder, somebody I killed? Then they took, we up to 80 policemen. We went to a place called Ordeal Layout. When we got to Ordeal Layout, I have a lot of lands in that area. I have a lot of landed properties in that area. So they took me to Ordeal Layout. When they got to that Ordeal Layout, they started pointing at, let them dig here, let them. I said, no, wait. I have an idea of what you people are saying. They were all quiet. And I told them, look, that the grave you are looking for may not be around here, but it may be the next compound. They were looking at me. I told them, the grave here, the person died in 1972. His name is Mr. Kaso Refo. That he worked for OUCC, Onitsha Urban County Council, as Onyebulense. But he suffered from leprosy. He didn't marry, didn't have kids. So when he died, the family, out of superstition, buried him there. 1972. That his brother's name, Ima Orefo, Ifeka Orefo, surveyor. I named all his brothers and told them we can go there. It's not more than 100 meters. One for now said, how do I know this? I said, good. I said, in 2008, the chairmanship of the Abuku family we are in dispute. One wrote a petition against the other, alleging that he killed somebody here. So the policeman that came from Abuja to investigate the matter was, the name is ASP Dada. He said, do I mention that? He said, yes. He went out and called Dada. So he stayed there for 15 minutes before he came out, say, let's move. He lost the confidence of the subordinates. That time, they now know something is wrong somewhere. Dada confirmed what I said. That one failed. That's the first attempt failed. He took me again to the next day, he took me again to another place where they had like a big wall, 10 plots of land. He said, am I the owner with the team of police? I said, no, but I have plots. So I said, call the landlord association, let them know tell you who owns it. Before I could finish, he ordered the policemen to break one side of the wall. They broke it. We went in there. He pointed at a place for them to dig. They dug up the corpse. And I was told to kneel down next to the corpse. I knelt down. They took picture. He said, what do I say about this? I said, what do you mean what to say about it? The waterproof is brand new. The corpse is almost 3 years old, meaning that the two we are buried independently. So the body was buried independent of the waterproof. So the waterproof must have got this more than 3 weeks old.
You're talking of the body bag.
Do you understand? So he came new. So he was used to transport this exhibit here. God. And then I said the rope that is tying the corpse together. If you are alive and the ropes are used to tie, if the body is rotten, the ropes will be loose. It won't be tied on the bone. That was when one of the police officers removed the handcuff in my hand. He lost interest.
You were eventually charged to court. And of course...
let me go to... No, let me get... This is the second attempt.
We don't have so much time, so I need you to wrap it up.
This is the second attempt that failed. This is the second attempt that failed. When this attempt failed, James Wan for now told my lawyer, Professor Mokwe, that is not the one holding me. That is the state government that is holding me. That's what he told my lawyer, Professor Mokwe. That is not the one holding me. That is the state government. Now, that in two that failed. The third one that finally collapsed the whole matter was whenever these two did not work. They woke us up one morning and told us that we are being charged to court. We went to court. They read the charge that myself and Dr. Nwankwo Justin, we killed one Nnailu calf. When they said that, we were bundled to prison. But again, luck came on our way. When we got to prison, the team of SARS officers that led us to the prison was led by CSP Sondope again. Now, as he dropped us off, he went to the controller of prison, DCP AA Ndupu, who was the controller of prison, and told him, look, these people didn't do anything. It's the state government that has interest. That's what he told him. So the man, this should be how he handled us. The man now called me the next 2 days and told me that and gave us latitude. The latitude he gave us, they enabled us to trace somebody who knew the person that we supposedly killed. The person now informed us that the person that we supposedly killed was arrested by Nwafo, April 29.
Which year?
That same 2013, as a MASOB member. He was the head of MASOB as Silas was fed. So since he arrested him, they have not seen him. So he gave us the address of the mother, the father, the relations, the town. Then what I did, we called our staff outside. They went to that town, traced the woman, have her on tape, got Noprin, Okechukwu of Noprin was involved, and Meko Dogo was involved. All these media people, they went and confirmed the whole thing was in a tape. Then the woman now, under help, now averred an affidavit confirming that it was SARS, that she herself was going for SARS to release the son. But let them provide the bail bond with which they released in one incident happened in August, that one April 29. Let them produce the bail bond that they released him before somebody else killed him. So DPP threw away the matter from there. The police ran away. Government ran away. Till date, they keep running. No complainant, for 7.5, no complainant.
How did you get out of...
After the thing got thrown off now,
you were released.
Holding me. That is it.
All right. You have petitioned the Judicial Panel of Inquiry, currently probing police brutality and other forms of misconduct by the defunct EndSARS in Anambra State.
That's correct.
So what are your demands?
Before I go for that, my demand, let me reference an incident. Yesterday I watched on Arise, the then governor of Anambra State made mention of saving my life. He saved my life. I'm grateful because he really, I have been saying it, he saved my life, I'm grateful. The reason he saved my life though is because he called James Nwafo and told him nothing should happen to me. That is the truth. He, the second day, but I would have died the first day. But the second day, he personally called Nwafo that nothing should happen to me. What that establishes is that Peter, he communicates with Nwafo. And if he now says nothing should happen to me, it means he knows that something happens there. Otherwise, he wouldn't tell somebody nothing should happen to him if you do not know that something happens there. That's what it is. So as for what you're saying, my own destination to what is it? Is that within the confinement of my sufferings at SARS, not because the damages to me is quantum, it's geometric. You understand? When you now factor in a 3-story building, the lost revenue for 7.5 years is much. But the only thing is, everything is not money. Sometimes all no matters. All I needed from the then state government, look, Mokwe, this was a mistake. How do we do this? That's all. How do we do this? It's not a matter of jumping, being chameleon all over the place. That's what it is. So what I'm asking them is for them to know what is proper within the confinements of their job portfolio, which is restricted to people that are victims of police brutality, not necessarily the collective liability that my case entails.